Hi guys, Ted here in beautiful Côte St. Luc, Canada, playing Weapons Throwing RPG 2. This is the second day I've been playing the game, the first full day, just downloaded it yesterday. I'm planning to make videos as I go through the game, although I may just combine them all and post it all at the end, so as not to, put up an excessive number of videos. As I've been playing through, one of the things I've been enjoying is seeing the little ways in which the game is different from the first weapons throwing RPG. So for example, I recently got this equipment leather shoes, which increases your speed of preparing weapons. That's nice. I like the javelin and the spears. Well, I don't use the spears, but I like how they look. And I was always jealous in the first game of how the enemy monsters would have spears and stuff like that, and I never had spears. So in this game you can get spears, you can get arrows. Arrows throw, I think, on the lower like daggers do, and javelins throw in the middle arc. This hammer throws in the high arc. Anyway, I'm about to beat the final stage of the first screen, and there will probably be a story after I beat that, but I won't include the story in the video so as not to spoil the story development for people who might be watching this but playing through it later. I don't want to spoil the narrative, so I'll just show beating this level and then I will pause my video, and either that'll be it, or if I join it to another video later, then the next thing you'll probably see is beating the final stage of Screen 2. So here we go. I'll turn up my volume a little bit. Cute bears. All too easy. But as I progress, I'm going to start progressing more rapidly now. I'm not going to hold back, and I'll be challenging myself more and advancing more quickly. So there we go. And I'm going to skip the story. And here we are a few hours later, just about ready to beat the second screen. I was struggling a little bit on some of these early stages here when I remembered the importance of using the blacksmith and spending gold to get your weapons up to level 9. Now you don't have to do that, you can just practice and use them until they get up to level 9, but it's much quicker to pay the gold, and that helps you advance to levels much more quickly. So here we go on stage 2-5. I'm using this elf arrow, I think it's called. I really like it because sometimes it makes all kinds of extra shots. It's very beautiful. Ooh. Come on, let's see some extra shots. Come on, extra shots. There we go, like that. Isn't that nice? Alright, that's the end of screen 2. Okay, so it turns out there's a sixth stage on screen 2, excuse me. So, trying it with, this is one of the things I like about this game, that it sometimes surprises you in little ways. There's an extra stage you're not expecting or whatever. That was especially true at the final screen of the first version of this game. Anyway, let's see what we can do about beating level 2-6. Ouch. I've picked up some chainmail armor along the way, so I don't think these guys can damage me too awfully much. Ooh, lots of arrows. And I think that's really the end of screen 2. And here we are again, ready to beat screen 3. Yesterday I equipped myself with all arrows. It was quite amusing to see so many arrows flying. Ooh, another obsidian arrow. I like those things. Cool. Okay, so it's day 4, and we're going to beat screen 4. Put my volume up here. I'll just show you briefly where I am. So as I said, this is screen 4. I'll show you my equipment. I'll tell you that something quite interesting happens at the end of screen 3, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. So the configuration I'm showing you here is actually not what I normally use because of what happens at the end of screen 3. But I don't want to spoil the surprise for those who are playing through, so this is what I'm using right now. I've got myself 4 armor slots because I've beaten the arena up to the 9th person. 10th person's pretty tough. Still working on that one. I'm looking forward to that final armor frame. So here we go. These guys are a little tougher than I expected, actually. Normally when I've beaten a stage up to level 3, I find it quite easy to beat level 1 of this following stage. And it's not like I'm having a giant challenge here, but it's a little bit harder than I thought. There we go. So there it is, screen 4, defeated. And here we are. I am 1 week into playing the game. We're about to beat screen 5. I'm playing the mercenary. This is my weapons and equipment at the moment. Let's get to it. By the way I'm trying to make these videos is I'm trying to show certain progress through the game. At the same time, I am trying to not reveal any spoilers about certain interesting special things that happen during the game. So something pretty interesting happened after screen 3, and from some comments on one of my other videos, I understand something interesting might happen after this screen, but I'm not going to show it on this video, so as to give you guys a chance to discover it for yourselves. As usual, by the time I get myself set up to make a video, I've actually been dawdling, playing the earlier levels and getting myself up powerful enough so that it's actually pretty easy to beat the final stage of the screen. So, alright, there it is, end of screen 5, I think. Yep. And we're beating screen 6 today. One commenter on one of my videos asked about which weapons and armor you should use. I'm really not sure about weapons. Armor, you use the best armor you've got. I'm really not sure about weapons. You can see I'm using these Haute Claire swords. I've picked up some much more advanced swords, but the more advanced swords are slower to regenerate. So, I don't know, I like using these. I like keeping up a constant barrage against the enemy. If anyone has any interesting thoughts on what weapons are best, should you always go for the most powerful weapon you can? Does it depend which character you're playing, and so on? I'd be interested in that. I'm getting in trouble here. Ah, just made it. Alright, so that's end of screen 6. Okay, we're 2 weeks into playing the game, and I'm about to beat screen 7. So here we go. For the longest time I used Haute Claire swords because I liked that they split into 3, and it made a barrier of weapons that the enemies could hardly penetrate. But more recently I've switched to these Levitines. They do not split into 3, and therefore they do not provide as good a defense. However, they sometimes heal me. The damage that they do to the opponent gets added to me. So that keeps things going. I'm also using a Sky Pirate's hat to keep my BP up, and some boots. What are they called? Feather boots or something? To make my speed high so my weapons recharge quickly. I do have some more powerful weapons, including one of the special weapons that comes from one of the bosses, but not using it right now. My strategy tends to be to use, well, the destroyer axes are pretty powerful, although I do have a couple more powerful axes, but my general strategy is to use a little bit less powerful weapons and throw a lot of them. And also, because they recharge more quickly, it allows me to respond to a particular enemy attack, head it off, as it were. Right, that wasn't too hard. Alright, see you next time. Okay, real end of the screen, I think, I hope. Well, this is not going well. I need more magic defense. And yikes. Alright then. Okay, yet another attempt of beating this screen 7. I first thought I was doing it when I was beating this level over here, and then I failed on this level because too powerful magic was being thrown on me. But now I have the barrier pendant equipped, and I should be okay, I hope. You know, I switched to the Beastmaster, and the Beastmaster runs out of BP pretty quickly. This is where I failed last time. I love how the wings are flaming purple. Uh-oh. There we go. And that will be the end of screen 7. Okay guys, so that turned out to be the end of the game. Sort of, but I'll get to that point in a little bit. So far in this video I've tried not to reveal any spoilers, not to reveal any of the special things that happened during the game, but that's what I want to do now. So I'm going to pause here for a moment and give you a chance to stop watching this video if you don't want anything spoiled. Because what I'm about to start talking about is some of the special things that happened during the game, some of my tips, observations. I have a sort of list of things here that I want to address. So, I will pause for a moment more, and then let's get to it. So as I just mentioned, I basically just finished the game. There's a couple things that are quite interesting in this second iteration of Weapons Throwing RPG that are different from the first game, and so I'd like to mention those now. Some nice surprises. One of the nice surprises happens at the end of screen 3. So when you defeat this final stage of screen 3, what happens is the town gets a new store. Now where is it? Oh, I'm on the wrong thing here. I was just revealing one of the other things that happens. The magic shop. So in the magic shop you can buy these spells, and the spells act like weapons. They consume a certain amount of your BP, although it's proportional to however much BP you have. So the higher your BP goes, the more powerful these spells become. And they have levels, and you can train up their levels, and they even gain special powers. I don't have one equipped right now, although maybe I can do that just to demonstrate. By the way, there's also another spell or two that you get in other places. Oh, so much stuff. Okay. So here's one, for example, the Fireball. And it has a 10% chance of doing a double attack, basically. So that does double the damage. So that's one of the neat things that happens, is the addition of magic. Because in the first game, the enemies had magic. They were casting these spells on you, and it could be quite a problem. And you had no defense. But now with the magic, first of all, you can use magic against them. And secondly, your magic can block their magic. So it's a nice twist, and it's quite interesting, a good addition to the game. Another big surprise thing that happens is at the end of screen 5. So at the end of screen 5, you beat the Empire, basically, and a whole nother town appears. Okay, this town. And so this town has a new weapon shop, a new armor shop, an item shop, and so on, and it has different things available. So for example, this weapon shop has a lot more powerful weapons than were available in the first town. And it has some more interesting things you can buy with jewels. Now I'll get to that more in a moment. The other thing that happens when you defeat screen 5 is that another arena gets created. And so this arena has a whole nother set of guys to beat and a whole nother set of things you receive. Including a harpy feather, which I've used, weapon frame, which is extremely useful, and some other things which may or may not be useful to you, depending. Another thing I wanted to comment on has to do with something that I bought in this Empire trading zone. Now you can't see it here because I've bought it, but it's in my equipment. It's called the Training Pendant. So the Training Pendant is described as tripling the amount of XP you acquire from defeating monsters. Although you sacrifice that no gold and no gems will appear. Now, in the first game, there was an XP ring, and this second version of the game also has the XP ring, which is described as doubling your XP. And in my opinion, in the first game, perhaps the XP ring or perhaps the barrier pendant, which defended you against magic, were the single most important things you could buy with your jewels. And I basically still have that opinion in the second game, because if you double your XP or triple your XP, you just gain level so much faster and you can advance through the game so much faster. Now we did some tests, and there is a little bit of false advertising here. So I tested defeating monsters without the XP ring or the training pendant, and I tried defeating monsters with just the XP ring, or with just the training pendant, or with both the XP ring and the training pendant. Now the XP ring, as I say, is described as doubling your XP, but in fact, by my calculations, it gives you 1 5/6 as much XP as you would have had otherwise. So it's not quite doubling, although it's nearly doubling. And the training pendant, by my calculations, gives you 2 2/3 as much XP as you would otherwise acquire. And the combination of the two, I'm not sure, how we should even expect them to combine. Do they add? Do they multiply? But anyway, by the calculations, it turns out that you get 4 1/3 as much time XP defeating a monster if you have both the XP ring and the training pendant equipped. So that's a huge deal, because, to advance 4 times as fast your levels through the game, it's really important. So, in my opinion, the XP ring is the first thing you should get, and then when you defeat the Empire, the training pendant is the first thing you should get. Now the barrier pendant, which I mentioned before, is, in my experience playing this through the first time, Also kind of important, although mostly at the end. So when I was on this final screen here, I think it was, I can't remember if it's I think it was level 5 here. This level 5 has someone who casts, the boss of level 5 casts a lot of magic, and I was having a lot of difficulty beating that guy, and especially on this fourth, oops, I don't know why I did that, especially on this fourth most difficult level, until I had, I'll demonstrate this fire for you, until I had the barrier pendant on. See, one of the downsides of these fireballs is you use so much of your BP that you can get exhausted pretty quickly. So I didn't end up using them too much, although it was fun. Well, I don't want to make you wait through all this, so let's get out of here. And similarly, I had trouble defeating the various levels of stage 7-8 until I had the barrier pendant on. So, important perhaps, although mainly at the end in my experience. I also want to make a comment about weapons in general. So, well, I've put a fireball here, but before that I had 2 destroyer axes and 3 levitines. I actually went through much of the game using weaker weapons, and I only switched to these levitines on the final screen, and maybe not even the whole time I was playing the final screen. I don't quite remember. You know, in my experience, you can do pretty well with either weaker or stronger weapons. Stronger weapons, they do more damage, but they're slower to recharge. You know, this prep speed is lower, and they have higher BP cost. And so if you fight with weaker weapons, you can just be firing more constantly and do about the same amount of damage. I'll give you an example where this is particularly dramatic. So I think in the Empire's arena, you get something called Gravity Axe. So much scrolling. So the Gravity Axe here, and let's compare the Destroyer Axe with the Gravity Axe. The Destroyer Axe, which I was using, has 190 attack, plus 114 once it's up to level 9. Okay, so pretty strong attack. That totals to, what, 304? The BP cost is 79 minus 26, that's 53. And the prep speed is 11. And compared to Gravity Axe, the Gravity Axe is a bit stronger, so attack 230 plus 138. BP cost 80 minus 27, about the same. Durability is stronger. So the durability of the Destroyer Axe is 14 plus 2, and Gravity Axe is 20 plus 2. So the Gravity Axe can sort of wipe away pretty much any single opponent axe or hammer that it comes up against. But look at the prep speed. The prep speed is 5. It's so slow. So you can fire 2 Destroyer Axes or more in the time that you can fire 1 Gravity Axe. So, you know, Gravity Axe kind of cool, but I never used it very much because it's so slow to recharge. All right. So, you know, my general strategy was not to use the most powerful weapons that were available at any time, but to use things that were a little bit behind that. What else do I want to comment on? Well, I don't want to end on too much of a negative note, but there were 2 things that were maybe a little bit of a letdown about the game. And one is that it was just pretty hard to get equipment. And I think other people have commented this on one of my videos, that the, you know, even to get these levitines and destroyers and so on, you know, you don't get that many treasure chests. So you don't get that many equipments. I think you can actually buy levitines in one of the weapon shops. But it's not that easy to get the equipment just by fighting monsters. Harder, I think, than in the first game. And so as an example, it wasn't until I finished the entire game and was just goofing around and playing more and actually equipped a whole bunch of, took away all this usual equipment that I was fighting with and filled it up with harpy feather and bunny ears to maximize my luck and get more treasure chests. it wasn't until then that I even got the most powerful of the regular swords, not the special boss weapons, but this is the most powerful of the regular swords, which is somewhere. I do have a lot of Levitines now, and these Gungnir's, ugh, it's too many. Masamune? I don't know how to pronounce it. But I didn't even get this until after I finished the whole game. And there was a lot of other points in the game too, where, for example, somehow, maybe just by total luck, I got a celestial arrow pretty early on, and I really liked that celestial arrow. Never saw it again the whole rest of the game, so I only had the one. And it was similar with some other things. So I feel like it's too difficult to get the treasure chests. Now maybe the designers want you to use more of, have more motivation to use the luck enhancing equipment to get those treasure chests. Anyway, I focused on the XP and getting the XP up and gaining my levels. And the other thing, by the way, is that, each of these bosses at each of these levels has a special weapon, just like in the final screen of the first weapons throwing RPG. So this one has Treasure Sword Magmel. This one has something called, it's the only one I actually got. It's some kind of spear. I'll show you. Oh, too far. Spear of Mistletoe. And, well, I didn't use it very much, as you can see. It only up to level 5. It's okay, but I don't know. It wasn't that intriguing. So anyway, each of these bosses at these levels has some kind of special weapon, and except for that one from stage 7-2, I didn't get any of them, and I still won the game just fine. So they don't seem necessary, but again, they seem very hard to get. And I actually spent a couple days until now, after I beat the game, and until, and just, with maximum luck, and just fighting some of these levels, trying to get special weapons, never happened. So in my experience with the first weapons throwing RPG, if you spent a whole day fighting a boss, you ought to get, and your luck was maximized, you ought to get a special weapon. But it seems just too hard in this version. So the other letdown is that, I did enjoy the game, but the game's not finished. So when you beat this stage 8 here, 7-8, at any of the levels, well, at the first level, of course, as usual, at the end of this stage, you get a sort of story. You go to this palace or whatever, and the story says that, there's this thing, that there's going to be another screen called Heaven, and you have to defeat the King of Heaven or something like that. But there's no heaven, because then you get this character that steps on and say, we haven't implemented that yet. We're still developing it. So the game is released, but it's not finished, and you can't actually sort of truly win the game the way you're supposed to. So that's, I don't know, that's a bit strange, but that's the way it is. And other people have commented on that on one of my other videos. So I think that's the main things I wanted to say in the way of tips, in the way of spoilers. I don't know that I'm going to play this game anymore for now, so I'm level 325. I mean, I could still just keep grinding away and gaining levels, but I don't know, somehow I'm not enthusiastic for it. If there's some other players out there who are going further, who are trying to get to that level 1000, hey, cool, post a message, post a video, I'd love to see it. My plan is to pause playing and hope that they're going to release an update of the game that'll include the Heaven level. And then I can continue playing the Heaven level as it sort of should have been in the first place. So that's my plan. And that was the first full playthrough of Weapons Throwing RPG 2. It does improve on the first game in a number of respects. The graphics are a little nicer. There's a more diverse set of weapons and other items. The addition of magic is neat. The two different towns is neat. And I look forward to playing the Heaven level. So let's hope that that comes out sometime. All right, see you guys.